Welcome, everyone, to today's session of Blum Voices. This series highlights a patient family advisory council member's personal experience relevant to Dana Farber. Our hope is this series will be a valuable tool for patients to consider when they are navigating their own personal journey. The recording of this session will be posted on our Blum YouTube playlist and our Blum Digital Resource Center. If you would like more information about resources and programs offered through the Blum, please visit our website, www.dana-farber.org/resource center, or email us at blum_center@dfci.harvard.edu. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share my story with you. I'm a member of PFACT, and I'm also a mucinous ovarian cancer survivor. My story began back in the spring of 2019. 3 months before my diagnosis, I bought my prom ticket outside of the cafeteria and started planning my pre-prom plan with my friends. 1 month before my diagnosis, my dream prom dress that I had waited for 2 weeks finally arrived. And 1 week before my diagnosis, I was shopping at the South Shore Plaza, planning our possible road trip with my friends. However, in 1 week, my life was turned upside down. As a first-generation immigrant, I always expected myself to just graduate from college and work. Cancer was probably the last thing I expected to happen. But nothing ever happened as you plan out. So after having weeks of gastric pain and finding no answer, I made an appointment with my internal medicine doctor. However, it was so much discomfort and bloating in my abdominal area that I decided to go to the New Wellesley Hospital with my family. That day in May of 2019, I can vividly remember my mother holding my hands tighter and tighter as the translator slowly telling her the result from the testings, along with the doctor's assumption of cancer. That assumption was later confirmed by my oncologist at Dana-Farber with the full name mucinous ovarian cancer. My surgery was scheduled on June 5th, 2 days before my graduation. I can still remember on that day when all my friends texting me, "Where are you? Are you coming?" And then later on, "Why did you miss graduation?" All this time, I just stare at my phone, not knowing really what to say or text back. It's not that I don't want to tell them about my diagnosis. It's just I didn't want to explain over and over again, saying things like, "I'm okay, I'm fine," because I wasn't. I know they're probably just worried about me. I meant no harm, but I was just not in a mood to discuss about my treatment or my diagnosis. After the surgery, I was welcomed with 6 sessions of chemotherapy. Because the cyst burst before the surgery, leaking cancerous fluid all over my abdominal area. While others may turn their attention to their family for help and advice, I can. Growing up as the household translator, bell helper, I was used to feeling as both the child and the household parents at the same time. I couldn't bear the pressure on my mother with how I felt as I watched her cry over and over again about my treatment and my cancer. The pressure just built on, and I didn't really have an outlet to express myself. The only time I felt some sort of relief, a chance to breathe, was when I actually went into treatment at Dana-Farber because I was treated as just a patient, a regular patient who's coming in for treatment for a disease, not someone who's about to die, not someone who has cancer. I finished my treatment in November of 2019. And as of now, I can gladly say that I am 5 year post-treatment. As I try to rebalance and stabilize my life through goal setting and completion, I begin to plan on my next step and encountering the typical question of, what do you want to do in the future? For me, after the whole journey, YOLO was my go-to phrase. I know it's very cliche, but you really only live once. So it's never too late to really start things. And that's how I got started into baking, which I can now do from pies to cheesecakes. There's really nothing I really gonna try. I also did a lot more traveling. I was actually just back at China in the spring break, and I did all the world I wanted to explore that I have missed for the past 18 years of my life. I started college. I studied biochemistry, and in this May, I'm about to graduate. But at the time, as I was reflecting on my journey, I realized that I wanted to do something with my journey. And as someone who always aced chemistry and loved doing different testing, I always thought, maybe I'll go into research. So as I do my research, I found that there's actually a PhD program combined with a medical degree that you can get a MD and a PhD out of it. As I searched through the extra curriculum that the school recommended, I stumbled upon a volunteer experience that I should do, which is why I began to research volunteer experience at Dana-Farber, the hospital I'm most familiar with. The first one I actually encountered was the one-to-one program. This program is a telephone program that provides support to connect current patients with survivors or caregiver. So this way, we are not able to only to listen in on their questions, but also to provide some kind of support or hopefully some hope to the journey that you're going to step on. Enjoying my interview for the one-to-one program, I was recommended to share my unique perspective as a young adult ovarian cancer survivor with PFAC, which also known as the Adult Patient and Family Advisory Council. Like many things that come along at that time, I wrote it on a sticky note and stick it on my desk. It wasn't until that one day I suddenly decided that it's about time to clean my room, and I re-encountered that sticky. And as I read through it, out of curiosity, I did a little research. I read through the website, the goals, and I was thinking, maybe I can actually do something with my background, my experience, and my journey at the council. Therefore, I applied and joined the council, not only to share my cancer journey, but also to give a perspective as a young adult patient. Compared to many other patients at the hospital, as a young adult, I didn't really know how to verbalize my need often. A silly example. During infusion, I didn't know that I could ask for a warm blanket, even though the AC there was really cold. And as I came to more reflection, I realized that it might also to do with my immigrant perspective of being independent and not bothering others. Therefore, I hope I can use my experience to tell other and through the meetings that it's important to verbalize your need, and you're not alone because we all been through this. Compared to all the other members in the council, I'm much younger and currently at a much different stage. But my age did not limit me from having a voice, which is why I'm standing here to tell you about my story, to raise the awareness of sharing and listening to others. Because as PFAC, we are a diverse group of patients, family, and caregiver that choose to volunteer here as a council to share our story, to share our experience, and to share our journey with each other. Even though we all have our own unique step, but we're all similar and different. So that's why I'm here to tell you about mine, and hopefully you can listen to others so we can tell you about our unique journey at Dana-Farber.
Thank you so much for sharing your personal experience with us. To hear other Blum voices, please visit the Blum YouTube playlist in our Digital Resource Center. Please stay tuned for more Blum voices and other programs in the near future. Thank you.